Am I audible now? I think now I'm audible and visible as well. Yeah, right? Good evening. Now confirm the audio and the video. Okay, great. Cool. चलो अच्छा है काफ़ी लोग अब तक आ भी गए. I started but somehow it logged out. Anyways, so I think you know this week 5. No need to explain it again. Today we are at this stage. Which stage? Odd one out. Here we are. All right. So today I have brought something over here. Let's see. Weightage is all messed up, but if I kind of okay, now it looks perfect. Weightage of odd one out will be 2 questions. All right. You expect 2 questions in the real CAT. Earlier it was 2 questions of odd one out, 2 of parajumbles, but last year parajumbles was not there. But it doesn't mean that it won't be there this year also. Okay, we are not really sure. So 2 questions of odd one out you can expect. Now the thing is, parajumbles and odd one out both are difficult. I think by now you must have realized. Yes or no? Do you think it's difficult? You're not really sure whether you'll get the correct answer or not? Tell me, yes or no? I think a lot of you feel the same way. Even I feel the same way. In fact, when I write the CAT paper, parajumbles is my last choice. Rahul, not great, but yeah, better than before. Yeah, not difficult, tricky, yeah, we can say that. Now, so I did some kind of mathematical calculation over here, and this is going to prove that we should be doing odd one out. Okay. Probability, because we have 5 options. All right. Now, all of you understand mathematics. So, probability of getting it wrong is 80%, isn't it? Yeah, because we have 5 different options. And probability of getting it right is 20%. Yes or no? Correct answer yields 3 marks and wrong answer deducts 0 mark. Because it's a theta type question. Type in the answer, there is no negative marking over here. The moment I say that, what happens now? Expected score, अगर एक normal mathematical बात में करूँ, if both are correct we get 6 marks, 1 correct we get 3 marks, none correct we get 0 marks. Nothing to lose over here. We have things to either gain or be at nothing. Now, that is something which looks practical. And according to combinatorics, the theory of fundamental principle of counting, permutations and combinations, अगर वैसे देखा जाए तो 2 सवाल होते हैं. This 2 questions, half. Either you will attempt the question, yes or no, right? That is why half is there. Is that clear? Half. 3 marks at 0.2% probability. 0 marks at 0.8% probability. If you calculate, you get 0.6. So expected score according to final proper stats and mathematics is 0.6. Obviously 0.6 is impossible to get in CAT. You will either get 6, 3 or 0 in this. But 0.6, it shows that this is something which should be attempted. Do you understand? Even if expected score was 0, I would have said, okay, probably you can leave it, skip it. But here, you are not going to skip anything. Well, Byte Daily says time to lose. All right. So time to lose, so you can do it afterwards, not the first priority. But in the end, you should do it because even if you kind of just guess, think about it. CAT doesn't, no I am calls you for accuracy. No. Even if you get 1 correct, you'll get 3 marks. Both 6. None is 0. So, no, probability of getting none correct is very low. And that is why 0.6 is the expected score. I hope you understand this, right? PNC, probability, थोड़ा mathematical मैंने बता दिया इसको. So now I think you guys must be mathematically enlightened. And now you must have realized that it is worth doing. Is that clear? Time कम है, तुक्का मार दो यार, कोई बात नहीं. टीटा है ना. Well, so without much ado and wasting any time, let's go to the first question. So I'll be giving you 2 minutes. Then I'll explain it to you. Probably you will get some insights which will help you in solving the questions in the real CAT. And by now you must have understood that you have to attempt it. Well. Only CAT, you are not late. I just give mathematical explanation that why we had to do odd one out. This is the first question, by the way. Really? Where? Okay, so those who have answered it, 2 or 3 or 5, whatever, also write your reasons. I think that'll be better for even me to understand your point of view and then tell you exactly where you're going wrong. Alright? Type in your reasoning as well. यश तुक्का था ओके चलो यश की रीजनिंग क्लियर हो गई बट अगर फिलहाल अभी कैट के अंदर नहीं बैठे अभी तो सोच के कर लो All right, let's see. So the question, the way we answer odd one out is very much similar to the way we answer a parajumble. Because it says, okay, there are 5 sentences out of which 4 can be used to make a coherent paragraph, but 1 cannot be. At the very same time, there is one thing more. Like right now, all the series that we are doing on YouTube is all about score maximization. It's not about, basic training for CAT. I think you know it. So to maximize the score, if we are able to form the coherent paragraph, it's a great thing. But even if we are not able to form that paragraph, it won't be a bad thing. If we can get odd one out without even forming the paragraph, it'll be great, right? Because we are getting marks for finding the odd one out, not for making the paragraph. Do you understand that? Yes or no? Isn't it? तो पैराग्राफ अगर तुम्हारा मान लो गलत भी बन गया क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है अगर तुम पैराग्राफ बिना बनाए भी आंसर निकाल सकते दैट्स अ ग्रेट थिंग विच हैपन्स इन मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस राइट एटलीस्ट 2 में से 1 में तो सवाल में ऐसा हो ही जाएगा जहाँ बिना पैराग्राफ बनाए भी काम बन जाए तो पहले हम वो कोशिश करेंगे और फिर देखेंगे कि पैराग्राफ बन रहा है कि नहीं बन रहा ओके having an appreciation for the workings of another person's mind. So what are the keywords? Appreciation for understanding what? Working of another person's mind is considered a prerequisite for natural language acquisition. Okay, natural language acquisition. strategic social interaction, reflexive thought, and moral judgment. Basically, all these 4 words which have been given are nothing but, I would say, cognitive abilities. Yes? Is that right? Essentially, पहले में क्या मालूम पड़ा कि दूसरे इंसान का दिमाग कैसे काम करता है, ये ज़रूरी है हमारी खुद की कॉग्निटिव एबिलिटीज़ डेवलप करने के लिए. ऑलराइट, ठीक है, आगे देखते हैं. सेकंड, इट इज़ अ थियोरी ऑफ माइंड, दो सम स्कॉलर्स प्रेफर टू कॉल इट मेंटलाइजिंग और माइंड रीडिंग, विच इज़ इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ वंस कॉग्निटिव एबिलिटीज़. यहाँ भी ये बात करी गई है साथ में, लेकिन यहाँ पे इस लाइन में द मेन फोकस इज ऑन दैट स्कॉलर्स want to call it mentalizing, theory of mind. यहाँ it's more about coining the term, right? Coining the term, or we can say nomenclature. कि जो भी ये बात हो रही है उसका कुछ नाम रखा गया है. That is what scholars normally. So here the idea is this, and there the idea what I told you. You know, ठीक है. Third, though we must speculate about its evolutionary origin, we do have indications that the capacity evolved sometime in the last few million years. Now, what capacity? Probably the capacity to read other person's mind, right? So, capacity here is making some sense. Capacity can be this capacity. We are not sure. But if 3 is not the odd one out, listen to me carefully. I have not read 4th, 5th statement yet. If 3rd is not the odd one out, then this capacity is basically referring to capacity of reading understanding other person's mind. Is that clear? अगर थर्ड ऑर्डर नॉट नहीं है तो अगर है तो कैसे मालूम पड़ेगा कि वो किसी और कैपेसिटी की बात कर रहा होगा. डू यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस? दैट इज आई एम ट्राइंग टू फाइंड द ऑड वन आउट. फर्स्ट सेकंड में कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा अभी तक, थर्ड में इतना लग रहा है हमें. ओके, कमिंग टू फोर्थ. दिस कैपेसिटी डेवलप्स फ्रॉम अर्ली बिगिनिंग्स इन द फर्स्ट ईयर ऑफ लाइफ to the adult's fast and often effortless understanding of others' thoughts, feelings and intentions. तो यही कैपेसिटी, अब 2 बार सेम कैपेसिटी की बात कर दी गई है. क्लियर बात है, दिस कैपेसिटी अब 2 बार आ गया है तो 2 ऑड नॉट तो हो नहीं सकते, एक ही होगा. So we are sure that the capacity which is being talked about in 3rd and 4th statement is the capacity of reading other person's mind, understanding other person's mind. 1, 3 and 4 are connected now. Okay, 5th says one of the most fascinating human capacities. Oh wow. Again, capacity is the ability to perceive and interpret other people's behavior in their terms of mental states. Now, 5th and 1 are almost the same statements. Yes or no? 5th and 1 are almost the same statements. It has been paraphrased, rephrased, right? So, if I look at that, the only thing which is uncommon, which doesn't talk about the capacity itself, but just talks about the coining of the term or nomenclature of the term, 2 seems to be the odd one out. Is that clear? So, without even making the paragraph, we can find out 2 is the odd one out. But let's try to make the paragraph also. ठीक है? तो सबसे पहले बात की जाएगी कैपेसिटी कौन सी है. कैपेसिटी कौन सी है इसकी बात 5th और 1st दोनों में करी गई है. 5th में बोला गया है वन ऑफ द मोस्ट फैसिनेटिंग ह्यूमन कैपेसिटीज इज एबिलिटी टू परसीव एंड इंटरप्रेट अदर पीपल्स बिहेवियर इन टर्म्स ऑफ द मेंटल स्टेट्स. फर्स्ट सेज हैविंग एन अप्रिसिएशन. ओह ग्रेट. सो बेसिकली once you have the ability, then only you can appreciate. So that means 1 will come after 5. Immediately after आएगा नहीं आएगा, we are not sure. Okay? सत्यम आते हैं वहां पे 3 पे भी, ठीक है. 1 5 के बाद ही आएगा, एकदम बाद में आएगा, वी आर नॉट श्योर. ओके. 4 says this capacity develops from early beginnings in first year of life to adults fast and often effortless understanding of others' thoughts, feelings, intentions. बहुत ही अच्छी बात है. इंसान की एक फैसिनेटिंग कैपेसिटी है दूसरे लोगों की बातों को इंटरप्रेट कर देना उनके मेंटल स्टेट्स के फॉर्म में. जैसे ही ये कैपेसिटी की बात की जाएगी, ये कैपेसिटी शुरू कहाँ से होगी? इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम द अर्ली बिगिनिंग्स. दैट मीन्स 4 विल बी फॉलोइंग 5. And once it has started, then having the appreciation for working, it helps you in growing your cognitive abilities. And then 3 concludes it by discussing about its evolution, its anthropological significance. कि ये चीज़ें हमारे पास आई कैसे. सबसे पहले introduction to the capacity of understanding others, which can be empathy or sympathy. in a simpler way. Now, this capacity begins from childhood, goes to adulthood. Now, why this capacity helps you, because it's a prerequisite for natural language acquisition, all that stuff. And when we have, kind of summed it all, now we want to think that where from it has originated. It has an evolutionary origin. Okay, तो ये चार बातें हमारे सामने हैं. तो 5, 4, 1, 3 looks like the best plausible sequence. Let's see. Yeah, it is the best sequence, and second is the odd one out, which just talks about the coinage of the term, not about the properties or characteristics of that capacity. Clear? Satyam, is that clear now? Understood, everyone? Great. Let's go to the next question. Whatever you feel is the answer, also give your reasoning. When you try to write the reason, you think it out loud. And that is the best way to learn and unlearn new things. Okay, so try to write your reasoning as well. Yash says, if this is not why I'm leaving odd one out. No, Yash. That will be a very quick judgment. I already gave you mathematical explanation that why odd one out should not be left. So everybody try to give your reasoning. Bhavya says, talks about unrelated data. Siddhant says 0.5 is not talking about banning of books. Okay. Riya says 5th has data, तो उसे बाहर कर दो. अच्छा है, ऐसी कौन सी बात है? रिया, क्या ऐसा होता है कि कोई पैराग्राफ में 4 सेंटेंस तो चारों में डेटा दिया होगा? That is not the reason, right? So that is why I was asking you to give your reasons. Okay. So what Riya is saying, Riya, have you ever seen a paragraph? You must have seen, but is it very highly probable that a paragraph has 4 different statements and all statements have some kind of data? Data would be given in only 1 or 2 sentences, and rest everything data is given to kind of prove something, right? Got it? अच्छा, बाकी लोग जो बोल रहे हैं कि वहाँ पे बैनिंग की बात नहीं करी गई है, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, देखते हैं. That is what I think. Who said that? Siddhant said that, right? Ashish says 5 talks about unique titles, not banning. All right. Okay. Smriti says, why I'm the only one saying 2? Maybe Smriti, you are the odd one out. Huh? Okay. Joel says, doesn't fit the coherent sequence. All right. So now I have read a lot of statements, your reasoning, and I know people will be talking about these reasoning line of thoughts only. Arithmetic now switches to 2. Okay, let's see. So first of all, I'll tell why things are wrong and what is the problem with your line of reasoning. People who have marked first, see. First says the banning of northern lights could be considered a precursor to censoring books for moral, worldview or religious reasons. Some people have viewed northern lights as the actual northern lights which is there in the Arctic Circle. It's visible in Iceland, some parts of Norway, some parts of Alaska, right? So people who are saying that, जैसे जोएल ने बोला है, तो जोएल ने सोचा यही होगा, जोएल ने आगे पढ़ा ही नहीं, बोला नॉर्दर्न ने बाकी किताबें, बट नॉर्दर्न लाइट्स यहाँ पे बाकी किताबें बात है, हटाओ इसको. Joel, if you read the complete statement, probably, Northern Lights is the name of a book. That is a possibility, isn't it? So that is why people who have marked one are wrong. Anyways, I'm not saying that one is not the odd one out, but yeah, Northern Lights, यहाँ पे शायद किताब की बात हो रही थी. Okay. So the banning of Northern Lights could be considered a precursor to censoring books for moral worldview or religious reasons. Now, so if I just try to define the first statement, this statement is basically a reason for banning, but I'm just writing reason over here just to make a mental map. Okay, making a mental map helps you a lot. Coming to second, attempts to ban books are attempts to silence authors who have summoned immense courage in telling their stories. So second is the motive. Do you understand that? The motive of banning books. Is that clear, everyone? All right. Now, third. Now the banning and challenging of books in the US has escalated to an unprecedented level. This talks about an action. Now the problem is the people who are saying that fifth is the odd one out because fifth doesn't talk about banning. They forgot one thing, that the third statement is talking about the action, and there is not just one but two different actions. One action is banning, other is challenging, which you conveniently forgot. And now all of you would like to kick yourself in the mind, right? Isn't it? You're like, oh shit, what happened? I was just looking at banning, but it's challenging as well. Ajay, good evening. So there are not just one action, there are two actions. One is ban, other is challenge. And the people who have ruled out five, now they might have realized that they are wrong. आगे बढ़ते हैं. The widely acclaimed fantasy novel Northern Lights was banned in some parts of the US and was second most challenged book in the US. It was banned. It was also the second most challenged book. Again you forgot. तुम बोल रहे हो बैनिंग हर स्टेटमेंट में है, जिसमें नहीं हो गलत है. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि बैनिंग 1, 2, 3 में है और चैलेंजिंग भी 3 स्टेटमेंट्स में है. डिड यू सी दैट? थर्ड स्टेटमेंट हैज चैलेंज, फोर्थ ऑल्सो हैज चैलेंज, फिफ्थ ऑल्सो हैज चैलेंज. So the usage of word banning and challenging is equal in the entire paragraph. But because banning is a very strong term, so your mind automatically focuses on the strongest term. Do you understand this now? How biased you can be? Getting it? ठीक है. So now I think I don't need to explain. Second is the odd one out. The American Library Association documented an unparalleled number of reported book challenges in 22, about 2,500 unique titles. All right. So the action 3 would introduce the paragraph. There is an action. What action? Banning and challenging of books. All right. Now there is an example, a data-driven example given in fifth statement, which says that इस एसोसिएशन ने बताया है कि भाई देखो 2022 में 2,500 टाइटल्स को चैलेंज किया गया था. All right. फिर बताया गया कि एक बहुत ही, अब नॉर्दर्न लाइट्स 2 बार बात की गई है तो ऑब्वियसली पहले से इंट्रोड्यूस किया जाएगा. तो ये तो like it's no rocket science to understand that 4 would be coming before 1. 4 introduces the act of banning northern lights and first tells us what is the reason of banning northern lights. Now the motive of banning books for where is that? Intense courage telling their stories. जो motive था silence authors, this motive. Now this is something which is giving us an altogether a new viewpoint which probably will require another paragraph. It doesn't suit this paragraph. All right then. So everybody got the reasoning? And how do you feel now? I want to know your exact feeling. क्योंकि बहुत लोगों ने बहुत जोश में बहुत खुशी खुशी 5 बोला था. वेल डन तेजस्विनी. तेजस्विनी, हाँ मैंने वेल डन बोला तुमको। जोएल होगा तो 3541, लेकिन कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि यहाँ पे वी आर मेन, आई टोल्ड यू अर्लियर ऑल्सो, द मेन फोकस हियर शुड बी फाइंडिंग द ऑड वन आउट, नॉट गेटिंग द एग्जैक्ट सीक्वेंस। चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं, नेक्स्ट वन। अरे थ्रो, हाँ 3541 इज द करेक्ट वन। जोएल तुम बोल रहे हो 413, तुमने तो पेयर्स ठीक ही रखे हैं, बस उसको इंटरचेंज कर दिया है ना। तो पहले एक्शन आएगा, बाद में एग्जाम्पल्स आएंगे। ऑलराइट जोएल, आई एम गोइंग ऑन म्यूट, यू हैव 2 minutes टू सॉल्व दिस। Alright, I want to know the reasoning behind it. Everybody is marking 2. Abhimanyu is saying 2 is not talking about languages. Okay. Sudipta says the same. वैसे ये काफ़ी आसान था. 2 is correct. Yeah. This was an easy one, right? Oh, Arithro. Okay, I covered that. This is an easy one. So if I just read it, Boa Senior, who lived through 2004 tsunami, Japanese occupation, diseases brought by British settlers, was the last native of island chain who was fluent in Bo. Fluent in Bo, that means Bo might be a language. ये आदमी एक बवाल है. सुनामी में भी बच गया. जापानीज़ ऑक्यूपेशन जब हुआ उस अंडमान का, आई थिंक अंडमान में ही था ये बंदा ना, वो भी बच गया. ब्रिटिश सेटलर्स बीमारियां लेके आए, उससे बच गया. ये आदमी नहीं चट्टान है ना. ओके, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Indigenous population has been steadily collapsing since the island chain was colonized by British settlers in 1858 and used for most of following 100 years as colonial penal colony. This talks about a different thing altogether. One or two connected नहीं आपस में. I don't know which one is odd one out. I need to read other statements as well. Third says, taking its name from a now extinct tribe, Bo is one of the 10 great Andamanese languages. Perfect. So 1 and 3 connected है, which are thought to date back to pre-Neolithic. What is Neolithic? Neo is new, lith is stone, in case you don't know. So new stone age के पहले human settlement of Southeast Asia. The last speaker of ancient tribal language has died in the Andaman Islands. लग रहा है 4 ही स्टार्टिंग होनी चाहिए है ना, यहीं से शुरू होगा. एक कोई मर गया. Breaking a 65,000 year link to one of the world's oldest cultures. All right. Though the language has been closely studied by researchers of linguistic history, Boa Senior spent the last few years of his life unable to converse with anyone in her mother tongue. तो 1 और 5 पेयर है और 4 और 3 भी पेयर है. 4, 3 and 5. 2 is obviously, even if you don't find the sequencing, you find out that 2 is the odd one out. This was an easy question. तो इस बार ये क्वेश्चन कैट में ही आया था. हाँ, 5 is a conclusion. That's right. 4, 3, 1, 5 will be the correct sequence. चलो बाबा येगा भी आ गया इधर. Let's go to the next one. Don't just give the answers, also give the reasoning. Tell me the reasonings as well. Alex is 3 because I did the question before. Wow. Wow, Alex. You might be having a line of reasoning here, right? तेजस्विनी का ये है कि टीन्स के जगह 40 यूज़ किया इसलिए. ओके तेजस्विनी, ऑल राइट. Okay, let us read the statements. First is in English, there is no systematic rule for the naming of numbers. After 10, we have 11 and 12, and then the teens. All right. Second, even more confusingly, some English words invert the numbers they refer to. The word 14 puts the 4 first, even though it appears last. Yeah. बचपन में भी सोचता था ये बात कि ऐसा क्यों है. Okay. Third, it can take children a while to learn all these words and understand that 14 is different from 40. Take children. This thing, is not making a lot of. It is seeming off to me. Why? Because in first and second, they're talking about semantics in a way. What is semantics? Semantics are the phrases, the knowledge of meaning of things, how phrases have been used, how terms are coined. All those things come in semantics. So first and second talk about semantics, while third talks about the difficulty faced by humankind in their childhood. Difficulty of semantics. Okay, so, all right. Now, coming to fourth, for multiples of 10, English speakers switch to a different pattern. 20, 30, 40, and so on. This is again semantics. Fifth, if you didn't know the word for 11, you would be unable to just guess it. You might come up with something like 1 teen. Now, fifth and second are making a proper pair. Why? See, in second one, it says that 14 में 4 पहले लिखते हैं, but in reality, when you write 14, 4 comes afterwards. And second and fifth is kind of, they are making sense together. So first, second, fourth, and fifth, these statements are more about semantics, while third is about difficulty faced by humankind, especially children. The third is the odd one out. That is the answer. Simple. Yeah, Gaurav. Logical phrasing of words, exactly. Sukun, okay. Yeah, I teach all the subjects. Okay. I think people have told you. All right. Cool then. No, Sukun, I think, अच्छा, new or no problem हो रही है. Sukun को बताता हूँ मैं. Sukun, you used didn't, right? You used didn't. Didn't is already past. Didn't, no. So no here is an act, an action. This is the helping verb. I did not know. Okay. When you say I did not knew, there are two pasts. So you have already taken the past in the terms of helping verb. Understood, Sakun? All right. Well, going to the next question. So Shil, this week is VRC week. So this week I have 3 classes. In quant, I always have classes. Maybe next week will be quant. I'll be doing that. I'll be taking at least 1 or 2 classes in every section. So this week is all about VRC. Enjoy this one as well. This is also very important. Well, tell me your line of thought as well. Why do you think whatever you think is correct? तेजस्वनी बोलती है थर्ड का टोन इज बिट डिफरेंट. अच्छा, इसका क्या मतलब है बिट डिफरेंट? Alex says 4 because it explains outcomes of replacement. Okay. Shweta thinks it's 5. Why, Shweta? Smriti says third as yet to was mentioned. So what does that mean? Siddharth thinks 4, 2 and 5 are not pairs. Good. All right. It's tricky. Yeah, it's tricky. Obviously, it's tricky. There are multiple ways to solve it. First is, if you are an avid reader, you won't be getting having the problem. So that is why, I always say, in fact, the first batch students, they might, the early start batch, which started last year, I was running a reading club. If you remember that, right? How many of you are there who were a part of reading club? But I stopped it after a while because people were not, kind of very much interested in reading. And now they must realize that the people who read a lot, for them, any kind of, for VRC, we need to develop techniques. Techniques would not be required because if you read a lot, or automatically your mind registers things. Okay. But having said that, if you do not read a lot, then what to do? Then obviously you will look for techniques which might not always be useful. But still, it will balance out things because CAT is a low-scoring paper. Even if you attempt 15 questions correctly, you will cross 99th percentile. So, like someone says the tone was different. Probably Tejaswani, I think she told it, right? So probably she doesn't know what was the difference in the tone there, but she somehow got it. Okay, tone is different, seems off. I think this is odd one out, right? This happens with a lot of reading. So if I read this, first one says self-care particularly links to loneliness, behavioral problems and negative academic outcomes. The moment I see loneliness, my mind goes into, oh shit, this is such a sad state of affairs, isn't it? It's sadness everywhere. If there's an emoji, I will have an emoji like this, isn't it? Do you understand? Even if we don't look for any tricks or anything, this is what comes to our mind. This statement is very strong statement. The words like loneliness, problems, all these words hit us really hard, isn't it? Because we can relate to it. Someone also said loneliness, oh shit, someone said that. Only CAT said that, I think. Right? Second says latchkey children refers to children who routinely return home from school to empty homes. Oh, such a sad state of affairs, and take care of themselves for extended periods of time. Now, if I go to, kind of, if you go back to your childhood and you try to, kind of think about it. Think about if you went to your home, there's no one to receive you. That must have happened in certain cases. But think if it happens every time, again a very sad state of affair, right? It's very sad. Sadness binds statement 1 and 2. Third says, although self-care generally points to negative outcomes, which, yeah, we are feeling that negative outcomes, right? It is important to consider that the bulk of research is yet to track long-term consequences. थर्ड स्टेटमेंट है वो न्यूट्रल है. वो बोल रहा है कि यार आम तौर पे नेगेटिव आउटकम होते हैं, बट श्योरिटी नहीं है क्योंकि हमने अभी इस पर रिसर्च पूरा किया नहीं है. Fourth says, in research and practice, the phrase children in self-care has come to replace latchkey in an effort to more accurately reflect the nature of their circumstances. Again, a sad statement. Or it talks about more about, the phrase being replaced, but it's जो latchkey यहाँ पे बोला गया है second statement में, and under the quotes, under double quotes, उसी को explain करने बोला कि children in self-care को हमने latchkey बोलना शुरू कर दिया ताकि वो उसका जो सैड स्टेट ऑफ एयर से और ज़्यादा महसूस हो हमें. ओके, ऑल्दो पेरेंट्स माइट बिलीव दैट सेल्फ केयर वुड बी बेनिफिशियल फॉर डेवलपमेंट, recent research has found quite the opposite. Again, a sad state of affairs. The only thing that is not sad here is third. Yeah. Tone. Who said that? Tone वाली बात कौन बोल रहा था? तेजस्विनी बोल रही थी ना, आई थिंक. Correct sequence is 2, 4, 5, 1. Because 2 introduces the phrase latchkey children. वो कौन होते हैं उनके बारे में बात की गई. फिर फोर्थ में बताया गया कि latchkey children नाम क्यों रखा गया था. इससे रखा गया ताकि उनकी जो कंडीशन है वो एक्यूरेटली बताई जा सके. फिफ्थ में बोला है कि पेरेंट्स को लगता है कि नहीं सेल्फ केयर में तो बच्चा डेवलप हो जाएगा, लेकिन फर्स्ट में बताया जाता है कि सेल्फ केयर में एक्चुअली कुछ और हो जाता है. सो 2, 4, 5, 1 is the correct logical sequence, and third here is the odd one out. All right, so emojis are enough to explain that. Okay, Yash, going to next one. प्रति yet to, बिल्कुल सही बात है, सही सोचा. Alex, because in third, it's not yet sad. It says generally people think it's a negative outcome, but a lot of research is yet to happen. That is why third statement was not actually negative. Okay, try to give your lines of reasoning also. Lakshmi, I think I missed your comment, but I hope you got it. Relatable हो गया only cat? कैसे? किसी इंटरव्यू में कुछ हुआ था क्या? Okay, Tejaswani says too because it does not mention anything about hard or soft skills. All right. देखो, यहाँ जो तुमने बोला है वो काम तो कर रहा है, बट ये बहुत ही यूनिवर्सल तरीका नहीं सोचने का. थोड़ा और सोचो अच्छे से तेजस्विनी. दिस इज व्हाट सुकून ऑल्सो सेज. यश सेज टू इज नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट स्किल्स ऑल टुगेदर. हाँ ठीक है, बात ठीक है. जैसे जैसे सोच रहे हो थोड़ा अच्छा जा रहे हो. थिंकिंग इज नाइस. थिंक मोर, थिंक मोर. यू गाइज आर ऑन द राइट लाइन ऑफ थिंकिंग. स्मृति दो अंदर से लग रहा है. गट फीलिंग है. अभी से सॉफ्ट स्किल्स की बात हो रही है, सो 2 इज़ फ्रॉम कंपनी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू रादर देन जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन. ओके, दैट्स गुड, नाइस. You know what? Why we have classes? Because you can yourself also open some kind of test or mock and solve it and then look at the options and get going. But why I am here? The reason is you need to tell me what is your line of thought. That is the only way I can rectify you if required, isn't it? That is why I'm forcing, focusing more and more that you should tell me your point of view. Aritra says 2 is more about the definition of the candidate, not the parameters which will judge the selection. All right. Alex says 2 cause candidate is recruited. Second present की बात कर रहा है as how they are ditching. Okay, Abhimanyu. All right. Sneha says 2 and 1 are similar. It's the same statement essentially. 2 is not needed when one is explaining the other sentence more adequately. All right, Sneha. Good thinking. Yash is 1 to 4 small, more smooth flow. Okay, let me try and understand this. First is although hard skills have traditionally ruled the roost. Although जब होता है ना मेरे कान खड़े हो जाते हैं. Although अच्छा ऐसा होता रहा है पर कुछ तो है ना. एक शक डाउट आता है. The moment you see although, something is wrong, right? Although hard skills have traditionally ruled the roost, some companies are moving away from choosing prospective hires based on technical abilities alone. So basically, hard skills are same as technical abilities, right? Those are the hard skills. Cool. ठीक है. मतलब कि अब शुरुआत से ये था ट्रेडिशनली एक रिवाज ये चला आ रहा था कि जो टेक्निकल एबिलिटीज़ है उसी हिसाब से हम लोगों को हायर करेंगे, बट अब कुछ और होने वाला है. ओके, लेट्स सी सेकंड वन. कंपनीज आर शेकिंग ऑफ द ओल्ड डेफिनेशन ऑफ एन आइडियल कैंडिडेट. शेकिंग ऑफ द ओल्ड डेफिनेशन ऑफ एन आइडियल कैंडिडेट and ditching the idea of looking for the singularly perfect candidate altogether. Ideal नहीं चाहिए, अब उन्हें singularly perfect चाहिए. अच्छा, दोनों बातें हल्की फुल्की मतलब ठीक है आपस में कनेक्टेड हैं, लेकिन थोड़ा और डेटा हमें चाहिए समझने के लिए कि फर्स्ट और सेकंड में से कौन सा बाहर निकलने वाला है. ओके, बाय द वे, in first and second, in both the statements, it's company's point of view. Some people are saying point of view of company के हिसाब से odd one out वगैरह सोच रहे थे, तो वो गलत thought था, गलत line of thought था. Now you understand this because both are from the point of view of companies only. The only difference in first and second is in first they have actually given what they are not looking for. In second they have not given what they are looking for or not looking for. Getting it? That's the difference between first and second. So always try to analyze the exact difference. I'm repeating. First has told us what the companies are not looking for. Second has told us nothing. They have not told us what they're looking for or what they are not looking for. They're just saying we are going to shift somehow. All right. Third says now some job descriptions are frequently asking for, again company's point of view, some job descriptions are frequently asking for candidates to demonstrate soft skills such as leadership or teamwork. Now although और जो ये अलोन टेक्निकल स्किल्स टेक्निकल एबिलिटीज अलोन से थर्ड वाला मैच कर रहा है कि अच्छा हार्ड स्किल्स नहीं सॉफ्ट स्किल्स भी चाहिए. ऑलराइट, सो थर्ड इज एक्चुअली गिविंग अस फ्रॉम कंपनीज पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू दैट व्हाट दे रिक्वायर. फर्स्ट सेज व्हाट दे डोंट रिक्वायर, सेकंड थर्ड सेज व्हाट दे रिक्वायर. फोर्थ, that's not to say that practical know-how is no longer required. Some jobs still call for highly specified expertise. ये भी बोल दिया कि भाई ऐसा नहीं कि हमेशा यही होगा, एक बैलेंस भी चाहिए. वी नीड सॉफ्ट एंड हार्ड स्किल्स बोथ, एंड मोर इम्पॉर्टेंटली देयर आर सम काइंड ऑफ जॉब्स which require hard skills. For example, if you get a job of a miner, you have to dig the earth and take the coal out. You don't require soft skills there unless you are a manager, right? तो वहाँ पे तुम्हें बहुत ही अच्छी टेक्निकल स्किल्स चाहिए. या तुम्हें कोडिंग करना है बैठ के, सिर्फ कोडिंग करना है, तुम्हें किसी से बात ही नहीं करनी है. सो यू रिक्वायर टेक्निकल स्किल्स देयर. सो इट्स नॉट दैट every job has shifted to soft skills. Technical skills are yet required, still required, but a balance is the best one. Now, fifth says the move towards prioritizing soft skills is a natural response to 3 years of the pandemic, says a senior recruiter at Kenlar FSB. So now this move from the point of view of companies has also been justified by some senior recruiter. So First, third, fourth, and fifth statements are actually telling us what's required, what's not required, why it is required, where we need the balance. But second is basically too generic a statement. It's a rhetorical statement. It doesn't give us any new information. So this will be the odd one out. Is that clear? One, three, five, four is the correct sequence. फोर्थ जो है वो देखो बैलेंस आउट कर रहा है ना कि भाई सिर्फ सॉफ्ट स्किल नहीं हार्ड स्किल भी कहीं की चाहिए होती है, इसलिए फोर्थ इज द लास्ट वन. Rest I think I don't need to explain because when I explained the entire thing, you must have got it. That 1, 3, 5, 4 is the correct sequence. Next one. No, Yash, it's not luck. See, there is a proper valid reason everywhere, isn't it? If you just, remember the reasons that I'm giving you, it will help you. When the real, and all these questions are from the real CAT, so that nobody thinks कि ये अपने आप सवाल बना लिया होगा किसी ने, वो biased होगा तो आंसर सही गलत, इसीलिए मैंने जानबूझ के PYQs उठा लिए हैं. All right. Come up with your explanations as well. So I can see Chetan says fifth because world is mentioned, not India. Chetan, that would not be a great line of thought because world is not mentioned elsewhere also except no, India is not mentioned elsewhere except the first statement, right? Think more. Alex says three cause what it is already explained in other sentences. Acha, ठीक है. So what? There are rhetorics. You know what is rhetoric? What's rhetoric? Sneha says two because it talks of something irrelevant other than the theme. Against the entire chat here, I guess. Okay. Against the entire chat. Okay. 4. As not negative while all are. Abhimanyu says alright. Smriti says fifth. हर जगह बस बाकी जर्नल की बाकी. तुम क्या लिख रहे हो स्मृति? समझ नहीं आया मेरे को. Two is talking about paying money, not about the scam of journals. Avi says, Sukoon says statement 5 cannot fit anywhere. All right. Yash has a pattern here, 153. Tejaswini, how the predatory journals will impact research is not given anywhere except 5. Okay. Act of persuasion is rhetoric. Rhetoric, where, oh, now Nebula, hi. Where a question or a statement that requires no answer. It's just a rhetoric. So when people say what has been explained in other statements, it's repeating, that doesn't mean it will be odd one out. It can be rhetoric also. Getting it? That's why I asked what rhetoric is. For example, rhetoric question is how are you? जब भी किसी से बात करते हो क्या पूछते हो? पहला टेक्स्ट क्या होता है व्हाट्सएप पे? हे हाउ आर यू? व्हेन यू मीट समवन, और कैसे हो दोस्त? सच में जानना चाहते हो कैसा है वो? आई डोंट थिंक सो. Nobody, actually means that question. If someone asks how are you, you'll say I'm fine, I'm good, I'm cool. पता है कि नहीं, मैं कल रात सो नहीं पाया था, नींद नहीं आई, मेरा ब्रेकअप हो गया, मेरी गर्लफ्रेंड बॉयफ्रेंड ने चीट कर दिया मेरे पे, ऐसा कुछ, कल रात खाना नहीं खा पाया मैं क्योंकि गैस नहीं थी, लाइट चली गई थी, बॉस गाली दे रहा है, मन कर रहा है कि डूब के मर जाऊं, शर्म आ रही है, कैट की मौक सही नहीं जा रहे, माँ बाप भी हमेशा बोलते हैं कि धरती पे कलंक हो, वगैरह वगैरह. यू डोंट से दैट, राइट? You just say, oh, I'm fine, even if you're not. So that's a rhetoric question. Okay? So it doesn't mean that a new statement, another statement cannot say the same thing which has already been explained. Right? So, anyways, let's read this. First statement says there's a dark side to academic research, especially in India, and its center is the phenomenon of predatory journals. It's everywhere. India में especially है क्या dark side? किस बारे में है? Okay, let's see. Second, but in truth, as long as you pay, you can get anything published. ठीक है, थोड़ा connected है. Third, in look and feel, thus they are exactly like any reputed journal. Who? इसके पहले आना चाहिए कुछ. Fourth, they claim to be indexed in the most influential databases. Say they possess editorial boards that comprises top scientists and researchers, and claim to have a rigorous peer review structure. All right. 3 और 2 लगता है कि साथ आना चाहिए, right? In look and feel, thus they are exactly like any reputed journal, but in truth, as long as you pay. Okay. लगता है ऐसा, पर सत्य ये है. लग तो ऐसा रहा है, पर सत्य क्या है ये है. ओके, अच्छा. 10 इस कारण से ऐसा लगता है. कारण कौन सा है? कारण ये है कि दे क्लेम टू बी इंडेक्स इन मोस्ट इन्फ्लुएंशियल डेटाबेस. बहुत अच्छे इनके पास ये होता है. इफ समवन हैज ट्राइड टू पब्लिश अ जर्नल, इन फैक्ट आई सॉ अ पर्सन हु गॉट एन अवार्ड फ्रॉम सम न्यूज़पेपर and he published a journal on physics talking about some black hole shit, and it was totally wrong because he paid for it. Okay, and I know that person, I won't take his name, and now on just he has made an entire building of lies, and now he is a successful person right now. So 3-2, this happened because of 4, and first actually introduces the concept. 1 for 3-2 seem to be proper coherent paragraph. Let's look at the 5th statement. But a large section of researchers and scientists across the world are at the receiving end of nothing short of an academic publishing scam. Publishing scam. Publishing scam is a very generic term. Publishing scam is not just this, that what you are publishing in a journal by paying money. Scams can be in other different ways as well, right? That is why 5th is more general, while 1, 2, 3, 4 are more specific and serving the purpose of a singular goal. That is why 5th will be the odd one out. Yeah, Kashish, exactly. That's also a reason that inside the peer review, there are research scientists. That also is a thing. But the more important is publishing scam is basically a generic term which can involve a lot of other scams as well. Well then, let's go to the next one. Yes, Agun. आई थिंक रेटोरिक का इससे ज़्यादा सिंपल और सुलझा मतलब तुमने पहले कभी नहीं सुना होगा. cat बड़ी जल्दी याद आ गया. Rhetoric question, huh? But no, this is not rhetoric. Actually, my health is better, but not fully recovered. It will take 7 to 10 sweet days. Not sweet, but yeah, just a rhetoric word. At 7 also you have a class of sequences and series part 2, batch 2. How many of batch 2 students are here? So here I see Tejaswini says 4 because it talks about ethics. Abhimanyu says 4 talks about philosophy, while others about biology. Okay, great. Sneha says 4 other sentences are talking of genetics and biotech, while 4 is more general in nature. Again, what Abhimanyu said. Avi says all except sentence except this one talk about genetic engineering. Smriti says humanities वालों के लिए कुछ बोल रहा है. Okay. This is the last question for today. All right. Let's see. The care with which philosophers examine arguments for and against forms of biotechnology makes this an excellent primer on formulating and assessing moral arguments. ठीक है. Ideas of biotechnology को जब philosophers examine करते हैं तो ये एक बेस बनाता है मॉरल आर्ग्यूमेंट्स को फॉर्मुलेट और एसेस करने के लिए. Quite cool. Second, although most people find at least some forms of genetic engineering disquieting, it is not easy to articulate why. What is wrong with re-engineering our nature? Second is posing a question, and I'm sure some statement will try to answer this. What's the question? The question is, what is wrong with re-engineering our nature? ठीक है, चलो देखते हैं आगे. Third, breakthroughs in genetics present us with the promise that we will soon be able to prevent a host of debilitating diseases and the predicament that our newfound genetic knowledge may enable us to enhance our genetic traits. Fourth, to grapple with the ethics of enhancement, we need to confront questions that verge on theology. Theology is study of faith, religion, etc., which is why modern philosophers and political theorists tend to shrink from them. तो इसीलिए शायद किसने बोला था अभी, स्मृति बोल रही थी कि ह्यूमैनिटीज़ वाला कुछ तो बोल रहा है, इसलिए फोर्थ है ना. ठीक है भाई, चलो देखते हैं स्मृति. Fifth says one argument is that the drive for human perfection through genetics is objectionable as it represents a bid for mastery that fails to appreciate the gifts of human powers and achievements. Fifth is answering the question that is asked in statement 2. Yes. Is that right? Let's see. Although most people find at least some form of genetic engineering disquieting, it is not easy to articulate why. What is wrong with re-engineering our nature? ठीक है, क्या wrong है? एक argument तो ये है that drive for human perfection through genetics, genetics के द्वारा human को perfect बनाना is objectionable. क्यों? Because it represents a bid for mastery that fails to appreciate the gifts of human powers and achievements. कि ऐसा करने के बाद जो human achievement है, जो human sense of being human से आती है, उसको जैसे ही हमने modify कर दिया, that is going to be, against the entire ethics. So fifth is answering the question posed in 2. Right? सुकून देखते हैं उसको. हाँ, बिल्कुल अच्छा सवाल है. फर्स्ट में बोल रहा है द केयर विद विच फिलोसफर्स एग्जामिन Arguments for and against forms of biotechnology makes this an excellent primer. कर भी सकते हैं और नहीं भी कर सकते हैं. I'll tell you why. Genetic engineering, genetics and biotechnology are two different fields altogether. They're two different disciplines altogether, right? Third says breakthrough in genetics represent us with the promise to grapple with ethics of enhancements. We need to confront questions that wasn't theology, which is why modern philosophers are trying to shrink from them. From what? So breakthrough in genetics present us with the promise that we'll soon be able to prevent a host of diseases, predicament that our newfound genetic knowledge may enable us to enhance our genetic traits. To grapple with the ethics of enhancement of genetic traits. So 3 and 4 also forming a mandatory pair. All right. So now we have identified the pairs. We also know that all these things are essentially connected with genetics and philosophy, majorly ethics. While the first one connects philosophy and biotechnology. The problem is a lot of people would confuse that genetics is a part of biotechnology, which it not actually is. They are two different things altogether, right? First here is the odd one out. Is that clear? Now the problem here is this all the words are really difficult. The sentences are very complex, right? A lot of people might be feeling it right now. But is this doable or not? I would say this is doable. Why this is doable? Just because of one thing. And it's the hardest one. But just with one thing. And that thing is, first is talking about biotechnology. Now, if I want to make it easy, let's say I am sitting in the CAT exam. I'm reading things, philosophy. मैं philosophers को ऐसे देखूंगा ध्यान में, फिर देखूंगा biotechnology. यहाँ देखूंगा genetic engineering. Not अच्छा, what is wrong? ये question existential question है, philosophical question है. इसका आंसर ढूंढने की कोशिश करूँगा, मुझे यहाँ मिल जाएगा उस आंसर को. फिर मैं ये पढ़ूंगा, मुझे दिखाई देगा कि यहाँ पे जेनेटिक्स की बात यहाँ भी है, enhanced genetic traits है. अब मेरा दिमाग लगेगा कि फोर्थ में पूरी बात आर्टिस्टिक हो रही है, फिलॉसफी हो रही है, इसमें साइंस है ही नहीं, जैसा स्मृति को लगा था. तो क्या पता फोर्थ मार्क कर दूं. बट जैसे भी देखूंगा कि इनहैंस और जेनेटिक्स, अब जेनेटिक्स इनहैंस करने वाली एथिक्स की बात यहाँ पे की गई है. नाउ आई नो दैट सेकंड, थर्ड, फोर्थ, फिफ्थ बिलोंग टू वन पर्टिकुलर डिसिप्लिन, while first one belongs to a discipline called biotechnology, which is totally different from genetics, right? That's all for today. Arthro, it just doesn't make it broader. In fact, there are two different things altogether. In fact, genetics पहले आया था. हाँ, स्मृति यही होता है, जल्दी सेकंड पार्ट रीड ही नहीं करता इंसान. इनहैंसमेंट वाली बात ये रीड ही नहीं करेगा तो गलत हो जाएगा. Genetics was, I think, if I remember, Mendel is known as the father of genetics. Am I right? Anyone from bio background here? Alex, not a problem. 4 questions right. It's a good thing, no? 50% correct. अगर CAT में भी ऐसा हुआ तो you will get 3 marks out of 6. Because there's no negative marking over here. Mendel, ना? Mendel थे, हाँ. And Mendel, I think he was in his 1920s में he was very active. So, he belonged to 19th century, lived till 20th century, while biotechnology is very new. I think it came in 60s or 70s. बहुत ही different है. हाँ, सुकून, हाँ, dwarf, tall, and वो yellow peas and green peas, eugenics, Noah Nebula, yes. No, it was not George, I think it was Gregory Mendel, if I'm not wrong. तुम लोग जॉर्ज मेंडल बोल रहे हो, मैं बोल रहा हूँ ग्रेगरी मेंडल है मेरे ख्याल से. ग्रेगर मेंडल. इट्स नॉट जॉर्ज मेंडल. वो येलो एंड ग्रीन पीस जब मैं पढ़ रहा था बचपन में, आई वाज फैसिनेटेड विद दैट. ग्रेगर, राइट? हाँ, ग्रेगर मेंडल. नॉस्टैल्जिया मुझे भी आ गया. तुम लोगों से मैंने 10-12 साल पहले किया होगा 11वीं 12वीं. आज बड़े सालों बाद मेंडल की याद आई. एनीवेज, तो मेरे भी नॉस्टैल्जिया हो गया. तुम्हारा 3-4 साल का होगा, मेरा 10-12 साल का है. ऑलराइट देन, I'll see you again day after tomorrow on YouTube with RC, and I'll be focusing majorly on RCs of philosophy and psychology. All right then. Take care. Bye. अच्छा, एक चीज़ जाते जाते मैं एक चीज़ बता दूँ। एक 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 मेंडल की कहानी थी, मैंने सुनी थी। उसमें कहा था कि देर वॉज अ वेरी ब्यूटिफुल हुकर इन दैट एज. I don't know what should be the correct term, hooker or escort, whatever. Very beautiful. So she went to Mendel and she asked her to, marry. कि आप मुझसे शादी कर लो. And Mendel was like, why? So she said, because, the child that will be born will be beautiful like me and intelligent like you. Mendel said, what if the reverse happens? He is ugly like me and dumb like you. So that was a joke, joke of genetics, which is normally used in a lot of universities, and I don't know if schools or not, but I have heard that joke somewhere. That is how I explain genetics to a layman. Dominant recessive gene prachi, exactly. Yeah. Chalo, bye bye.